So last month I got a question from a random person, and the person wanted to get into investing, and he was just asking me how he could do that. And I think this thing is something that's quite relatable with a lot of people, especially the young or the youth in Ghana. Investing is quite difficult or stressful because there's not really a lot of information out there, and uh, there's not really a guide for you to follow when it comes to investing in Ghana. So my thought process was, let me make a video where it's an all-inclusive guide for anyone who wants to get into investing, like from the beginning to the end, to just give you a fair idea of what to do and how to do it. Because the goal of investing at the end of the day is to make a return on your money. And if the process itself is stressful, it's not really going to motivate you to be consistent with the investing. So I think my thought process, or when I was getting into investing, was to try and find ways to make it as simple as possible. And I believe, or I hope, that this video will be able to kind of guide anyone, especially the young person, someone a recent graduate, or a recent person who is just entering into the university, or even SJ, like literally anyone who wants to get into investing, especially in the Ghana market. I think this will be a very crucial video for you, especially if you don't know anything about the investing landscape. Now, I think in order for you to start investing, you really have to understand how money works. But if you think you have a clear idea of how your money works, or how you think you are already good with your money, I think you can skip to this portion of the video. This is where I'm going to be talking more about the whole investment process. But if you think you don't know anything about how money works, then let's start here. I've written down some points that I think will be very beneficial for anyone to try and understand the whole process, and I think we'll go through it. So let's start. So I think before I start, I just want to go over some misconceptions that a few people have and try and correct them. So first things first, wealth isn't just about making money, it's about keeping and growing it. You can make a lot of money, but if you don't know how to grow your money and how to make the most out of the money you are making, it's going to be quite difficult. I think sometimes a lot of people confuse making money with investing. Yes, you could be earning a lot of money, but if you are spending that earnings or the income on reckless things, it doesn't really help you, or it doesn't really go a long way in helping you to really grow the wealth you want. Yeah, so that's one. Your income alone won't make you rich, but what you do with it will. So basically, the same thing that I said earlier, that it doesn't, even though your income is very important, it's not the only key thing, but what you do when your salary hits, when your business income comes in, when your side hustle income comes in, that's what really matters. The third one, the earlier you start, the easier it is. Think of wealth building like growing a tree. The best time to plant was 10 years ago. The next best time is now. And this is not to say that if you think you are old, you can't invest. Anyone can invest regardless of whatever time or age you are in. So I would say I'm a very strong advocate for young people to start investing as early as possible. Like I truly believe it's something great that if you start from a very young age, you're going to build that habit of investing. So it becomes way easier for you to do that when you start making more money. So I would always advocate for people who are starting out to always try and invest regardless of whatever amount that is. So the first thing I'll always tell anyone when it comes to investing is to learn how to manage your money. You have to track your money. You have to know where your money goes. And I think the goal here would be to track or record everything you spend money on for a month. I think this is a good exercise to kind of know where your money goes. a simple question. If I was to ask you right now, what did you spend money on last week? Would you have a fair idea? And I'm not saying you should do, but then it kind of just gives you the assumption that you don't really know where your money goes. And you could be spending money on things that you might not need, but because you are not tracking or keeping a close eye on where your money goes, it just passes over your eye. So I think this would be a good exercise for anyone who wants to really understand where their money goes. You can use any form of budget. If you are comfortable writing it down, comfortable putting it in a budget planner, there's a lot of apps on social media, iOS, Play Store, anywhere. You can even do it on Excel. That's why I prefer. But then it's what makes you more comfortable. So I'll just tell you guys to just write down everything you spend money on, whatever, Excel, phone, paper. Write down and track everything you spend money on. Now you can go through that thing after a month, then you know exactly what you spent your money on. That's when you'll be able to tell if what you spend the money on was necessary or not. Because sometimes when our income comes in at the end of the month, the money finishes and we make the assumption that we don't have enough to invest. But then I can promise you guys that when you go through the simple budget of, or after you track your money for even something like a month, you can see that, oh, maybe there was this item that you bought that was not necessary. Maybe during the week, your friends, you saw maybe a shoe that you don't need because you have like maybe 10 shoes already, but because you saw it, you just wanted to buy it. After you track your expenses, you might see some of those things that you'll be like, oh, okay, I don't really need to spend money on this thing. And that's the way to cut back on things you don't need to spend money on, right? Yeah, so I would say if you don't really know where your money goes, try this exercise and track where your money goes. If you do, that's so good. I think it kind of give you the idea of, okay, do I have money to set aside for savings, right? And so this kind of goes with the point I was trying to make about tracking where your money goes. I think one of the best skills that can really help elevate anyone's personal finance is budgeting. And I think one of the simplest budgeting rule is the 50-30-20 rule. So you might ask what the 50-30-20 rule is, and it's basically 50% of your salary or your income on needs, 30% on wants, and 20% for saving. So basically, let's say you earn 1,000 Ghana cedis, 500 Ghana cedis is for your needs, 300 cedis for your wants, and 200 cedis for savings. So needs are things you can't survive with as a human being. So food, transportation to work, probably shelter, like Abraham Maslow's theory of needs. I know you guys did economics. We have the needs category. Wants are things that you don't really necessarily need to survive, but you just want them. So maybe a cup of coffee, you don't really need it to survive, but maybe it's just nice for you. Maybe buying a bag, a shoe, like there are things you like, maybe a concert ticket, like you don't need them, but it's something you want. Then the last 20% is for saving. Now this is adjustable. I feel this is just the rule, but depending on your goals and your objectives, this is adjustable. Probably maybe you are someone that doesn't really need a lot of things. Maybe you work closer to work, so your transportation is not really a lot. You stay with your parents, so you don't really pay for shelter, so your needs could be probably like 20% of the budget. So that just gives you a lot more to put into wants and savings. Ideally for me, I would prefer for it to be more on savings and needs than to wants, but it's quite adjustable. So let's say if your needs were 20%, you could say, oh, then I'll probably put 40% into savings then I'll put the remaining 40% to in the wants category as well, right? So yeah, it's quite adjustable, and it's just one of the most common and simplest budgeting system that I think works out there. So I feel like it's a step by step. First, you track where your money goes, so you know, okay, I earn 1,000 Ghana cedis. I tracked all my expenditure for a particular month, and I realized that, oh, okay, I spend about half of my salary on food. I spent about maybe 10% on transportation, and I spent about the remaining on waste, things I don't actually need. Then now you can come, if you really want to work on how you want to cut back and try and save something, then you can use the 50-30-20 rule, adjustable. Like I said, you can use that particular rule and be like, okay, now how will I make my salary fit my saving goals? I want to save 20%, so 20% of 1,000 Ghana cedis is 200. I'm saving 200. The remaining balance is 800 Ghana cedis. 800, I'm spending 300 on one. So my food, my shoe, clothing, concert tickets, whatever, football match tickets, anything like that, I'm putting it at the main 300 cedis, and the 500 cedis for my transportation to work, my shelter, paying rent, whatever. I don't know if you guys kind of get me. I want to try and go a little bit fast because I don't want the video to be long. So that's one thing that can really help you when it comes to budgeting. But like I said, you can just research. There are lots of budgeting options out there, but this is the most common and it's very adjustable. So I think I'm kind of viewing it as, what would I advise someone who was getting into this whole journey of personal finance? And this, I think, one of the best things I would have recommended for anyone to use for budgeting. Now, this is not really, I would assume, I could be wrong though, but I assume that this is not really an issue for a lot of Ghanaians, at least the average Ghanaian, because unlike an economy like the US, where credits and debts are very common, there's not really a lot of bad debts with average Ghanaians. I could be wrong though, but I think the only kind of bad debts average Ghanaians will have is like borrowings from friends, and some loans from the bank for probably a business or whatever. So if you are in such a scenario, I'm assuming a lot of people are not in, so this won't really be part of your goals or your steps. But then if you are in such a scenario, after you track your money and you learn how to budget, my first thing I will tell you to do, or advise you to do, is to pay off any bad debts. And you might ask me why, because the goal is to invest, not to pay off debts. But the thing is, bad debts are debts that hurt you when it comes to interest compared to investment. So imagine you're investing your money into something that pays you 10% annually, but you have a loan or borrowing from people, and for you are come to the borrowing from friends and family, but let's say from loans from bank, that's you are paying an interest of maybe 15%. If you invest 1,000 Ghana cedis into the thing that is paying you 10%, you make 100 cedis at the end of the year. But you have a loan that is taking you 15% interest. Maybe you borrowed 100,000 Ghana cedis, so it's taking you 150% interest, 150 Ghana cedis as interest. You made profit of 100, but you have to pay the bank interest of 150. So it's like, even though you made profits, net you are in losses or you're in a deficit, so it doesn't really make sense. Your interest on the loans is hurting your profits from the investment. So it's always advisable to pay back any bad debt. And the reason I'm saying bad debt is not all debts are bad. We have good debts, but I don't think if you are now starting out, you'd want to be in any form of debt, because I think it's quite, sometimes trying to finesse the system and trying to find ways to try and elevate your income is quite stressful and difficult. So if you're a beginner, just kind of stay off any form of debt, regardless of it being good debt or bad debt. Yeah. And the last point when it comes to the debts is the borrowings and from friends and family relatives. So I've realized one thing about Ghanaians where I think we've made it kind of a culture of borrowing from people close to us and kind of forgetting about it or not putting in an effort to pay back those people just because you think, oh, they're your friends and family and there's no interest on it. Well, I think first of all, if it's something you do, then that I'll just advise you not to or to stop because it's quite bad. Imagine someone very close to you and trusting you to give you money, even if it's your parents. With parents, it's quite difficult though, but because I mean they are supposed to take care of you. But if you're like if you're a child, that's like understandable. Like maybe yeah, 18 and below, it's understandable. But if you are working and you borrow from your parents and you don't want to pay back, I feel like because they are your parents, they won't say anything about it. But it kind of shows. I think it shows a character that's like unbefitting of an adult. Like if you borrowed money from someone, like the responsible thing to do is to pay. And even in the Bible, it does say that the borrower becomes a slave to the master or the payer or whatever, to the lender. So I'll just advise to if you do have the habit of borrowing money but not paying back, it's not a good thing. So now you've tracked your money, you know where your money goes, you know all your income, all your expenditure. You've learned how to budget. You've taken 50, 30, 20, whatever. You've paid off all your bad debts. What is the next step? The next step, I would say, if you're a beginner, is to start an emergency fund. Now, an emergency fund is money that is placed into something liquid. Liquid meaning it's easily accessible. It's not, we have different forms of investment. Investment, like we have long-term investment, so you don't really have access to that money now. Like you're investing for a very long time. And we have short-term investments. And we also have savings with very low interest. The reason why people normally do long-term investments is it usually comes with a higher yield. So the rates or the interest you get from that particular investment is quite big because you are risking your money or you are locking in your money for a very long time. For shorter investments, it's the opposite. You are locking in your money for a short period. So the risk is not really as much as a long-term investment. So they usually give you a smaller interest rate. I said usually because it doesn't always work that way. Sometimes you could get in a crisis, short-term interest could usually be higher than long-term interest because people don't put in their money, lock in their money in an economy where they do feel like anything can happen. And it happened recently with the domestic debt exchange program that Ghana went through. The short-term investments where the yields on them were quite high compared to the long-term investments, and I'll talk more about that when it comes to the whole investing portion. So coming back to the emergency fund, so usually what you do is when you track down your money and you know what your expenditure is for a particular month, your emergency fund is usually supposed to be an amount that can cover your expenditure. The rule of thumb is to usually have 6 months. I think 6 months especially is too aggressive, and I think it could be a lot of money that you just have sitting there that's not making money for you. So I think 6 months is too aggressive, and if like you are someone who has a really high net worth or a really high income, it could make sense. But if you are starting out, you don't really have a lot of income, especially if you are young, where you are willing to take a lot of risks. Putting down 6 months of an emergency fund is quite aggressive on my end. I would usually do anywhere between 2 to 3 months. 3 months of an emergency fund. Right now, I have 1 month, just so my emergency fund covers 1 month of an emergency. And one thing you have to note is An emergency fund is for emergencies, meaning it should be your last or only option, and after the emergency, you have to build it back to the original amount before continuing with your plans. So, I think the definition of an emergency fund, people sometimes find it difficult to know what to determine as an emergency or not. So, an emergency fund usually is supposed to be your last resort. So, when you are making a decision to, oh, I have to go and borrow money from someone, like that's what, like, sometimes when I think about it, I have to go and borrow money for someone. So usually, if I'm borrowing money from someone to take care of an expenditure, it's usually like a last resort, right? So that's when I would try and, okay, think of putting it using my emergency fund rather than going to borrow out the money from someone, right? So it's supposed to be the last resort. You don't have any other option. That's when you usually cash out from your emergency fund. And when the emergency is over, you've taken care of that emergency and you are back to normal. You have to build back that emergency fund on before you can continue with your investing plans. Usually that's how you do it. So I would usually say build 2 to 3 months, even sometimes 1 month. I send mine is 1 month now because I'm comfortable with a 1 month emergency fund. But depending on your risk tolerance and how comfortable you are, and even your environment, maybe sometimes you stay in places where emergencies, maybe your life your life is full of emergencies. You usually stay in places where, like, things happen on a regular basis, right? So you might probably want to build that emergency fund to a higher amount compared to someone who doesn't really see a lot of emergencies. But I think a good number for Ghana, I would say, is to like 2 months of your expenditure. So when you track your money, maybe you realize that your expenses for a month is 1,000 Ghana cedis. So your emergency fund could be 2,000 Ghana cedis, and I would usually put it somewhere where it's not easy for you to get. It's not like every day you see it, but then it's also not difficult for you to remove it. So I would usually put it in like a high savings bank account. Yeah, a high savings bank account, or even I would probably not do mobile money just because it's very, very accessible. Like, you can just withdraw it as and when. So I'll probably stay away from mobile money and put in a high savings bank account. About two. So if your expenses are 2,000, it will be like 4,000. That's if you are doing 2 months. Yeah. So that's what I would say. Now let's talk about making money, because at the end of the day, cutting back on your expenditure, tracking all where your money goes, whatever, is all good, but it's still the income you are making. That's what you're going to use to invest. Let's look at what I wrote down here. Cutting back on unnecessary expenses is great and crucial, but at the end of the day, it will reach a point where you can't cut back anymore, and the only solution or option is to start increasing your income. Remember, the more money you have available to invest, the faster you can build wealth. So it goes to show that money really makes money. You need money to make money. I don't know if you guys have heard that saying. So this kind of brings the point where, if you're in a situation where there's not really a lot of money for you to invest, I'm not saying if you don't have a lot of money to invest, don't invest. You can. And I give you strategies where you can cut back on your expenditure, track where your money goes, cut back on your expenditure. Regardless of whatever money you have, you can invest a little, even if it's just to build a habit of investing. Yeah. But then at the end of the day, you can't cut back for the rest of your life. You have to try and improve your income. So it could be you starting a side hustle. It could be you starting a business. You leveling up your skills, taking a course to level up your skills, a certification just to level up your salary or your income, switching jobs, anything that you could do to kind of increase the income or the amount of money that's coming into your bank account at every single month is very, very important. So whatever you think you want to do, if starting a business is what you want to do, you have to make sure you take it very serious to be able to build a business income or profit, whatever you want to call it. If you are in a position at work where you think you can't really level up or elevate yourself in whatever career you are, you could try and just there are a lot of certifications out there, a lot of courses out there you can use to kind of make yourself more irreplaceable, and try and, even if it's you negotiating with your boss, depending on whatever thing you do at work. Maybe you've been doing a lot more at work and you think you are worth way more than than what you make. You can renegotiate with your boss, or you can job hop. That's when you leave your company to another company. And I think research shows that job hopping is more likely to increase your income rather than trying to renegotiate with your current bosses. But you can do whatever you want to do as long as you are able, even a side hustle. So you can online business, anything to increase your income. The goal is to have more money to be saving, to be able to like increase the rate at which you are able to build wealth, or to reach whatever saving goals you have. So after all this, I think I would want to talk more about opening a bank account, and this is very crucial for me because sometimes we all know having a bank account is very important, but making that decision I think is very crucial, just because a lot of people don't really know that there's a lot of fees, maintenance fees, that comes with opening a bank account. We usually just kind of open bank accounts without any idea of what fees are being deducted and what kind of benefits you do get from whatever bank account you do open. So I would suggest that you research a lot when it comes to opening a bank account, and I did make a video about how, like, what to look out for before opening a bank account. You can go through my YouTube channel and you'll probably see a video like that. You can also just research online to know what, like, there's a lot of great banks out there and there's also a lot of bad ones. So usually just do a lot of research before you do open a bank account, because having one is very crucial. That's where a lot of investments in Ghana require you to have a bank account too. So like, just be kind of put in a lot of research when you are trying to open a bank account. So now this is the most important part of the video, the investing part, right? So I would say, before you start investing, have a goal in mind, an objective. Like, what do you want to achieve with your investment goals? Do you want to retire maybe at the age of 50, 40? Maybe what's the amount of money you want to make? Are you investing for generational wealth? Is there like you have to have a clear goal in mind when it comes to investing? Or sometimes it just kind of it's difficult to be consistent if you don't really know what your goals are when it comes to investing, right? But at least I think one goal that is general across board is to make money, to build wealth. That I feel like, regardless of whatever you are doing, investing will help you build wealth, and I think that's even a good goal or objective for anyone to have. Aside that, you have to determine what you want to invest in. So like I said initially, we have a lot of investment classes, asset classes that you can put in money, and depending on your goals is what is going to help you determine what you're going to invest your money in. Now in Ghana, there's a lot of short-term investments and long-term investments for you to put your money in. So we have the fixed income investments, and we have the equities, and I'm going to talk about both and how to start when it comes to investing in both sides. Now for the fixed income, that's where we have treasury bills and bonds, and when you come to the equity side, that's like for shares. So that's when you trade companies like MTN, Cowbank, Farm Milk. if you are going to just research, you know what to do. So the reason why this is very important is, depending on your goals, if maybe you are someone who is now getting into investing, mostly treasury bills are considered as risk-free investment because the likelihood of you getting back your money is quite high, right? So there are lots of asset classes out there, a lot of investments for you to try and put money into grow your money, and I'm going to talk about each of them. So mutual funds. So mutual funds, usually it's when a lot of people pool money together and they give it to a fund manager for that particular person to invest on your behalf. So sometimes your amount of money you have on hand could be an issue, so you don't really have a lot to invest in certain asset classes or asset types, or you might not even have the knowledge or the know-how to invest into whatever you want to invest to. So usually what some people do is the companies, usually brokerage firms, they create what is called a mutual fund, right, where you can now pool a lot of people's money or resources together, and they invest it on behalf of that particular person or people, wherever. They make returns, and then you can sell off your investment and make your return whenever, like as and when you feel comfortable in doing that. So usually it's a fund that is being actively managed by someone, so you are not in control of what they invest the money in, but usually these people are professionals who have the know-how to invest for you. So they pool resources, and the share prices for those mutual funds, or the unit prices, that's the correct term, the unit prices are usually very, very low. So it could be like 1 cedi per unit price or whatever. So it's usually very cheap for anyone to get into. So that's one advantage of a mutual fund, but then you are not actively in control. So if you are someone who wants to actually take control of your own investments, I wouldn't recommend a mutual fund, because you don't have a decision of what they invest in. But then with the mutual funds, they do have a criteria for it. So usually when you are buying mutual funds, they kind of give you a description of what they usually invest into. So something like maybe M fund, they will tell you that, oh, you invest 70% into short-term investments, that's like treasury bills, bonds, short-term bonds, right? And we'll invest maybe 30% into equities. So you kind of have an idea of what they put the money into, but then there's no really a control of what they should do. It's really usually up to the fund managers. When it comes to equity, so this usually buying shares of companies. So this is when you say, oh, I'm a part owner of a company because I bought a share of that particular company. So usually the companies are listed on the GSE. So you have companies like MTN, Cowbank, Farm Milk. You can create an account with GSE. I'll talk about the whole account process later, but you can create an account, you issue an order to buy whatever company you want to buy. So maybe I believe that MTN is a strong company, and I think it's going to grow in revenue, and their share price is going to go to the moon in the future. So let me buy it. You issue an order to buy MTN, maybe 1,000 cedis, 10,000 cedis, depending on whatever you want to do. Then you place in that order, it's executed, then you now become a part owner of MTN. You're a shareholder of MTN shares, right? Yeah. So you can receive dividends. That's one way of making money from equities, and you can also get capital gain. So capital gain is, let's say I bought MTN at 1 Ghana cedis. Now the price, MTN did very well, and now the price is 3 Ghana cedis. So when you bought that 1 cedi, it's 3 cedis. Now when you sell it, you are selling it at 3 cedis, so you have 2 cedis profit. So imagine you bought you had 100 Ghana cedis and you used to buy MTN at 1 cedi. Now the price has gone to 3 cedis, so your 100 cedis times 3 is 300 cedis. So now when you remove that money, you have 300 cedis. So you invested 100, you now have 300, 200 cedis profits. So that's 2 ways of making money from equities. Then when it comes to fixed income, usually this is treasury bills and bonds. So this is basically like you lending money to the government. So equities, instead of you buying into you becoming an owner of a company by buying their shares, this one you are lending money to the government so that the government will use it for whatever purposes that they want, and they are promising you that, oh, after this period I'm going to pay you back your money. So we have short-term this one fixed income assets, and we have long-term fixed income assets. Usually every short-term fixed income assets are treasury bills. They are called bills, treasury bills, and the long-term ones are usually called bonds, treasury bonds, right? So the treasury bills, usually we have three types: the 91-day bill, that's like the 3 months; the 182, that is the 6 months; and the 364, that is the 1 year. So you can, when you are going to buy, you can tell, I'm going to buy a 1 year treasury bill, I'm going to buy a 6 month treasury bill, I'm going to buy a 3 month treasury bill, right? Then with the bonds, it's long term, so you can have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20. Yeah, a long. You have a lot. So anything above 2 years is usually bonds, long term treasury bills, and any investment that you make that will you get your return within a year is usually a short-term investment. So you can have that at the back of your mind. Then we also have other asset classes like real estate, venture capitalists, agriculture, whatever. But these ones, they are too complex, and I wouldn't recommend any beginner to start with these ones. Now, if you're a beginner, do you even have money to go and buy land? Do you have money to invest into someone's business, to start agriculture? Nah. So these are usually when, like, other asset classes, that when you already have some money on hand, you can get into them. I myself, I'm not in any of them because I'm not at that stage yet. So I would usually recommend beginners to start with mutual funds, equities, or fixed income, depending on whatever their goals are. So now you might ask, okay, these are all good, this is all great, but then how do I actually invest, right? And the thing is, you have to open something called a CSD account, and you also have to have a broker. You might ask, who is a broker? What is a broker? Whatever. Now, a broker is someone who is going to make that investment on your behalf. Whenever I say I want to make an investment, like for example with treasury bill, I said it's you lending money to the bank, it's to government, right? Now, how do I lend money to government? Am I going to go to Mohammed's office and tell him that, oh, Mama, I get 1,000 for you, I beg, Charlie, take him. Then at the end of 3 months, you give my money or something like that? No, that's not how that works. Like, I beg, you go, they will put yourself for prison, right? So you have to have. There's always a middleman who does the investment on your behalf. So you give the money to them, they invest it for you, they would send the money to government. When government is coming back with the money, they give it to the middleman called the broker. Then the broker sends the money back to you, to your account, whatever, depending on whatever you. So that's why I said it's very important to have a bank account. Choosing a broker is very, very important, because this person or this company or institution is the institution that's going to be handling everything with your money. When you place an order, when you make an investment, usually it's the broker who is going to be doing it on your behalf. So it's very, very important. I'm going to show you where to see whatever broker you usually the brokers are listed on the GSE, right? I don't want to make a recommendation just because there's a lot of things that can happen on the internet. Maybe if I make a recommendation and you go and have a bad service with that particular broker, it's very difficult. So the GSE lists all the brokers there. So we have, you see, when you can just go on the GSE, do a little bit of research. You can see all the brokers. So they say list and details of licensed dealing members, right? These are all licensed brokers that you can work with. we have Amber Securities. They'll give you all the details. So if it's listed on the GSE, they're a legit company you can work at. It doesn't necessarily mean that that's the company I'm recommending for you, but then it just goes to show that at least they are registered by the GSE, something like that. I think the other market participants. Yeah, so bond markets. Okay, so these are the broker dealers. So you have broker dealers, non-primary. So they are all listed by the GSE. These are all GIFM dealing members you can work with. Ooh. Yeah. I think the most popular ones, I'm not recommending them, but the most popular ones are Blackstar, IC Securities. IC Securities is quite popular. I think DataBank, they are a little bit popular as well. Yeah, they're all listed here. So I'll just say do your research. You can even use the other market participants as well. You can, so just do your research. Send emails to them, the companies. Find out what's or how they're going to benefit you, and invest with whatever one you feel most comfortable with, right? So that's what I'm going to say. Now, when you open a brokerage account, they're going to create something for you that's called a CSD account, right? Now, this account is very, very important. I don't want to even try and explain because it's very important. So I just want, yeah, Google to explain it on my behalf. A CSD account is an electronic account where invested securities are stored, eliminating the need for physical certificates in trading on the Ghana Stock Exchange. Now, you see, these brokers, they are like middlemen who make the investments on your behalf. But then, government regulates these people because you can't trust a random company to just come and take your money, right? So when you invest, the money goes into a CSD account, and the CSD account is operated by the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission. So it's a government institution that regulates all investment firms or any investment authorities in Ghana. The CSD has to regulate you. It has to look through your operations to make sure that you are following the rules and regulations, right? And they are the ones who, the broker would create the CSD account for you, but then the one who keeps control of their money or whatever is the CSD. So you kind of, so let's say if your broker goes bankrupt, or if they try and do some illegal something via, like, your money is still protected because the money is not with them. When you're investing, the money is not with them. It's in your CSD account, which is operated by the SEC. So benefits of CSD accounts: eliminates physical certificates, not that important, faster and more efficient, improves security. The CSD system ensures the safekeeping of securities and reduces the risk of fraud and theft. Easy tracking of investments. Investor can easily track their investments through quarterly statements from the CSD. So how to open. Any investor who wants to buy securities or deal in securities in Ghana is required to open a securities account with the depository through any depository participants. So the depository participants are usually the brokers, right? So yeah, if you want to open an account, the most important thing is to find a broker. And I showed you where to go and get the brokers, the list of brokers, the GSE, other market participants, or licensed dealing members. They are all listed there. You can research all of them, see which one is most suitable for you. Then you email them, send them a message. Some of them have apps, some of them have websites where you can create their accounts easily. You do that. When you are filling the forms, there's a portion that says this one, existing CAD. That's if you already have it, you fill it. If you don't, they will create it for you. It usually takes like 2 to 4 weeks, sometimes a little bit longer. So if there's any delays, you can just email them. They have mobile numbers, you can call them to see what the whole process is about. Yeah, so it's very easy. The most important thing is to find a broker, and they will create the CSD account for you. So after you find a broker, a CSD regulated broker, that's why I added it. So there are some Charlie. I'm not going to continue, but then some the fugazi brokers, you understand. So do your research, open your brokerage account, they'll create a CSD account for you, then you are ready to start investing in whatever you want to invest in, mutual funds, equities, fixed income, whatever. And the final thing is to stay consistent, because that's the goal of investing. At the end of the day, if you do all these things and you track your money, you pay off your debts, create an emergency fund, create a brokerage account, increase your income, have money on the side, and you are not investing consistently, what's the point? So know what you want to invest in. Is it a mutual fund, treasury bills, bonds, stocks, what equities? Just research and do it. And if you kind of are confused as to which investment, because I think this one I'm just talking about how to open the account, I didn't really go in depth as to what each of the investments meant. Probably if you guys are very interested, I'll make a video on that, another video explaining the whole investment, like going in depth as to what mutual funds are, what treasury bills are, what equities are, and I'm also thinking of making videos where I talk about what I'm investing in and how my investment strategies changes over the years. So if you guys are interested in things like that, so I'm going to talk about it. Now I want to also clarify about some things that I think are very important. Diversifying your investments. Now, I said it's very important for you to know your goals and for you to know what you want to invest in, but at the end of the day, like I said here, don't put all your shoes in one basket. Spread across to reduce risks. Now, investing comes with risks itself, because some investment, the likelihood that you make your money back is very low. So they are high risk investments. And also have low risk investments. If you were to ask anyone who invests about 4 years ago that define what bonds are, a lot of people would have said bonds are low risk investments. They won't have even said treasury bills, so they would have said bonds are the risk-free investments, right? But because of DDP, what governments went through, literally there a lot of people lost their money investing into bonds. So if you had all your money invested into bonds, it would have affected you massively. So I think the rule of thumb here is to always try and have a little bit of money spread across different sectors, rather than investing very heavily into one particular thing. Put money everywhere. A little bit into bonds, a little bit into bills, a little bit into equities. Like I'm not saying don't have a favorite. Maybe, and you know your investment strategy can change over time, right? Maybe there could be periods in time where equities, you are focused more on equities, but then you shouldn't go all in. So 100% of your money going always into equities. Have a little bit of everything, just to kind of reduce your risk, if that makes sense. Then next, to live below your means. There's this thing called lifetime inflation. I've made a video about it and it's very real. Honestly, I thought it's something I wouldn't even experience, but I did. And that's when there's nothing wrong with like a little bit of lifestyle inflation, but then when it becomes too excessive, that's when there's an issue. So you should always try and live below your means. If you are living above your means, literally that means you are in debt, right? So maybe you earn 1,000, your expenditure is 2,000. It's a no. You should always try and live below your means. You earn 1,000, your expenditure should be 500, so that you always have enough money to save. If the issue is the income, you have to build it up. how you are going to do it there, down the day or there, but then it's either you cut back your expenditure or you increase your income. But one thing that will really help you, or one thing that really kind of kills people from saving is lifestyle inflation, where you didn't have, then maybe you are driving a Toyota, but your income increase no right now if we go buy a G-Wagon. And there's nothing wrong with that, but then if there was nothing wrong with a Toyota, and now the extra income can help you reach your investment goals more quicker, why don't sacrifice for like a few years, like what's it called? I've forgotten. There's a word, something, delayed gratification, right? Delay that your gratification for a few years, reach your investment goals, objectives. Then now you can buy whatever J-Wagon, whatever wagon you don't want to buy. You understand? Yeah. And you can even add it to your investment goals, that you can be saving specifically towards buying the J-Wagon, as to like just randomly, because there's an increase in your salary, putting all into J-Wagon or whatever. Yeah, that's my opinion. Cash rich is alright, but assets rich is another level. So this would be more on income. Some people are comfortable saving but don't want to invest. If you make a lot of money and they are not investing, there's something called inflation. I don't know if a lot of people forget that inflation is the persistent increase in prices of goods and services, right? And it happens every single year. Ghana, right? Even inflation is over. You understand? So if you always make money, put it down, you have to know that the purchasing power of that money is reducing over the years. So one thing that can help you is to invest it, because investing brings returns on your money, so it makes your money grow. You understand? But if the money is just there, over the years, what that money can buy reduces substantially because of inflation. So always put priority on investing rather than saving. Even though the saving literally is the emergency fund, so there's no really any need for savings again. And also learn about taxes as you grow. When you start investing more, having a lot of information about taxes is very, very important. And the video is quite long, so I don't want to go much about it. So my final advice: you don't need millions to invest. That's small. Even 100 cedis a month, even 1 cedi a month, 1 cedi a month, it'd be very, very small. But then, like, you don't really need a lot to invest. If it's in school, you don't really get a lot. Every day they chop you, every day they buy cocoa, every day they give your girlfriend money. So you can always have enough to save if you follow the steps I gave, where I said track where your money goes, whatever. You will have some money to set aside. At the early stages, if you don't have a lot of money, you might say, oh, there's no very important for me to invest right now. No, building the habit is very important. Building that habit, when you build it, okay, the question I would ask right now is, if you are not willing to invest 10 cedis when you have 100 cedis, do you think when you start making a lot of money, maybe 1 million, you don't have that habit of investing? Do you think you invest? No. So building that habit of investing is very important. Be patient. Well, building takes time. Avoid get rich quick schemes. My brothers, it's very tempting, but most likely it might work for you, but then if you want the probabilities, likely not. Out of 1,000 people, maybe 1 person might make it with a get rich quick scheme. But then, are you sure that you're going to be the 1 person out of the 1,000? If you are comfortable with that odds, why not go all in? Keep learning. The more financial knowledge you have, the more money you make. So the personal finance, you always have to put in the work, try and just educate yourself, because there's not really there's a lot of information out there, but because we are not willing to put in that work to research, to do whatever, to try and just build our knowledge, it's quite difficult. But then I think financial knowledge is one of the most important things that can really help you regardless of whatever situation you are in. So just putting in that work to learn, to always study, and to always be ready to put in the time to grow your knowledge, especially when it comes to finance, is very good. Even the biggest killer or the biggest marriage breaker is what finances, money. So it's very important, and I think everyone should learn or have some knowledge about it. Thank you so much. This video is already very, very long. So thank you so much. I'm already tired. It's a long one, but I think it was a great video. And if you think it helps, or there's someone you think will benefit from this video, just share, send it to the person. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in another video.